Hi friends, welcome to Bookish Bliss, our virtual book club. Every week we will dig into a section of chapters in our favorite books. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 36 of Bookish Bliss. We have a lot to discuss today, probably the most we've ever had.
Yeah, that is not an exaggeration. This week we are covering chapters 24 to 32 of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. There will be no spoilers beyond the cover chapters, so you don't have to read the whole book to listen. You just have to be caught up on the chapters we're covering. I'm just going to apologize in advance. I am very, very sick and we
Poor
needed to get
Megan.
this out because we love you so much. But just bear with my voice tonight. I'm so sorry. So
Oh,
let's continue on. Amanda,
yes.
darling, what are you drinking tonight?
Tonight I am drinking my huge LaCroix, except orange again, with a little bit of tequila in it, top it off.
Oh,
What are you drinking? Hopefully some tea or something.
I am gonna have some tea when we're done, but while we're filming, I'm just gonna have some water.
Very good.
So I will cheers you to episode 36 and
Yes.
our fourth episode of Fourth Wing already. How
Wild.
crazy.
It's going by
What?
too fast.
Cheers.
Cheers. Now let's get started with the good stuff and break down Fourth Wing Part 4. Usually Megan takes it away with her summaries, but since our outline is 6 or 7 pages longer than normal, we are going to jump right into the chapters today. So I will be actually kicking off every chapter with the epigraph.
Yes, it's like so wild
Yeah.
how much happened in this section.
What were
Like,
we thinking?
we only did a little bit more than we usually do page-wise,
Yeah.
maybe 20
20
pages,
pages,
but
I think. Yeah.
that was not a good
Yeah.
choice.
At least the last section is only 75 pages, so we'll be smooth sailing for the rest of this book. Thank God. But
Yeah.
without further ado, let's get started before we are pulling all nighters over here.
Yes.
So, chapter 24, the epigraph is I know you don't want to hear this, but sometimes you have to know when to take the death blow, Mira. It's why you have to be sure that Violet enters the scribe quadrant. She'll never be able to take a life. Page 70, the Book of Brennan.
Whoa.
Cryptic message, but
Foreshadowing.
indeed, indeed.
So we are picking up right where we left off in this chapter, and Violet is still in the healer's quadrant after her little showdown with Jack in
Hmm.
one of the challenges. And Xaden is there by Violet's side, and Violet wants to know how many stitches she got from this challenge. And Xaden informs her that she got 11 on one side, 19 on the other. But Xaden seems shocked that she turned oranges into a weapon. But our girl was just working with what she's got. And Xaden's like, well, I just don't know how you always know who you're challenging, but he's just relieved that they're both alive.
Yeah. I don't know why he's surprised at this point, though. I mean, she has poisoned many, many people.
Yeah, this isn't her first rodeo when it
Yeah.
comes to poisoning.
Literally.
But Jack, unfortunately, is still alive since Violet
Boo.
told Riddick what she poisoned Jack with. So he's just a few beds over from where
Yeah.
Violet is laying.
Hmm.
Xaden is so mad she didn't tell him about the fight, but Violet said there was nothing he could have done about it, and he really hasn't been around in weeks anyways.
Yeah.
And Xaden doesn't want to talk about their kiss. He's like, absolutely not. It was a mistake. They're going to be stuck together for the rest of their lives. Getting physical is a mistake, so he doesn't see why they should talk about it.
That's healthy, Zayden.
What an avoider. Violet, on the other hand, does want to talk about it.
Of course.
Violet knows that their kiss meant something. She felt the enthusiasm in it. And Zayden's like, well, we can talk about it, but I'm not going to have any part of it. This
Yeah.
is a boundary for him, and he's not going to cross it or allow it to be crossed. But he says that he will be taking over every aspect of her life. If she did this to get his attention, this little showdown with Jack, then she has it. She has it now.
Ooh, she's probably thrilled about it, even though she unintentionally
Yeah.
grasped it.
Well, there was really nothing he could have done, even if she did give him the heads up.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So,
what are you gonna
drama.
do? Drama. Flight lessons are canceled due to the weather, but we learn later in this section here that only the first years and maybe the second years is canceled because third years they still have flight field during this time and during this below sub-zero freezing windy weather.
Yeah, I didn't know that they were babying anybody
I
in this
know.
war college, but here we can see they're sparing the first years and potentially the second years from flying in the freezing cold
I
weather.
know. They give them this teeny little break after everything else that literally kills them. And they're like, "Okay, we won't
Literally.
freeze you to death today."
Yeah, not today. Zayden is training Violet, and Violet, though, she is hot and bothered.
Mhm.
But it's nice for Liam now because he can actually start working on himself, his own training, now that Violet is with Zayden.
Yeah.
So,
Everybody's happy.
yeah, so Zayden has taken over because he no longer trusts Violet. He's like, nope, every aspect of your life is mine now. But at least Liam gets to practice on his
Yeah.
own.
He's already the best of the best first years, but gotta keep his skills sharp.
Yeah, everyone needs practice, no matter how
Exactly.
good you are.
Yeah.
Zayden makes Violet leave her daggers on the side, but he is fully armed, and he tells Violet she either trusts him or he doesn't. This is all part of his lesson of the day.
Mhm.
When Violet enters the mat, she tells Zayden that they could have waited a couple days until she was healed, but Zayden tells her that the enemy doesn't care if you're wounded and they will take it to their advantage.
Mhm.
And Zayden tells her if she doesn't know how to fight when she's in pain, then she will kill them both. Though I think Violet already knows how to fight through the pains
Yeah. She's
because
in
she's
pain every
in
day.
24/7 all
Yeah.
day. I'm
Yeah.
surprised she doesn't make like a snide remark about this to him, but she's like, all right, whatever, here we go.
Yeah.
Zayden says she's become a better fighter since August and she's fast, but she's using daggers that are too big for her. But it's nice to hear a compliment come out of his mouth.
Yeah, he has very positive constructive criticism for her always. There's always a solution to an issue that she has. Instead of
Yeah.
just like beating her down, he's like, "This will help. This will
Yeah.
help."
And
He's so helpful.
he's never telling her not to do something like us
Yeah.
or another person we know.
Yeah. Dane the Stain.
Jade the Stain.
So Zayden gives Violet a beautiful blade with solid black hilt engraved with Tyrish knots and old mythical runes of intricate swirls and ties. It's an amazing gift for Vi. Zayden had it made for her. The blade is solid in Violet's hand. It's way lighter than her other daggers and doesn't strain her wrist. Her fingers also comfortably wrap around the hilt, making it much more secure. But Violet says she can't take it. The only weapons they are allowed to have are the ones that are earned.
And Zayden obviously knows that the only weapons you can use are the ones you earn. So he lunges for her
Yeah.
and he takes Violet to the mat in one single move, which makes Violet all hot and bothered again. I mean,
And Amanda.
same.
He's like,
Like,
"Oh, yeah, you're gonna earn it, baby. Come get me."
no, that's literally what he's doing. He's on top of her, fully exposed above her, and tells her to start disarming him. And so they start their banter and keeping their sexual tension at its maximum peak as she starts removing his daggers from him. And he also allows her to flip them. So she is
Ooh.
straddling him as she takes his final daggers. Zayden then uses his powers to flip her back onto her back, and Violet says that they can't use magic in the ring. So
Mm.
hot.
So hot. Zayden tells Violet that Emerado doesn't allow the use of power to make it a level playing field, but out in the field, it will never be like that. So she has to learn to use whatever she's got.
Mhm.
Violet is admiring the runes on the dagger and is thinking that it's a shame that so much of the Tyrish culture was lost centuries ago during the unification, including most of the runes.
Mm.
I need to hear more about these
Interesting.
runes.
Yeah, I think so. What does that
Yeah.
mean? Zayden says that they need to work on her magic, and now she should earn her nickname, which is Violence, obviously, and try to kill him.
Which is violence.
Now we are in February. Zayden pulls her every chance he can to the annoyance of Dane, but Zayden doesn't baby her or hold her back like Rhiannon does. Then Imogen makes her go into the weight room and she hates them both. Violet hates Zayden even more though because he hasn't kissed her again. So
Yeah,
she's
she
just
wants those
frustrated.
lips. Yeah, she's like, "Give it to me again." Once you
Well,
have it once, too.
yeah, and especially since now, since the kiss, like he's spending more time with her. So the temptation is even more. It's at an
Yeah,
all-time high.
for sure. March is here, so that was a fast little quick February there.
Yep.
Violet still doesn't have a signet power. It's been 3 months, and she feels like she might crawl out of her skin from the power building within her.
Mhm.
We learn about Vidi, who was one of the best of their year, but his signet manifested and consumed him, and he burst into flames. In the words of Riddick, he went up like a torch. Professor Carr assumed his signet power would be to wield fire, but it just overwhelmed him in the first rush.
That's so crazy.
So crazy. And
That's so
Violet, she
sad.
still hasn't had her signet show. So, this is making her a little nervous here. We're 3 months in.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And of course, she's thinking about her mother at this
Yeah.
point because
Hmm.
her mother cannot stand people being average. And since she has not manifested her signet yet, she's just really thinking about what a disappointment her mother must feel like she is at this point.
Yeah.
Violet can't go to Taryn or Andarna because the signet power is all about her, which we know. And she hopes that she hasn't manifested it yet because it will be something meaningful or useful like Brennan's was.
Squad battles are weeks away. These are challenge competitions, flight maneuvers, and another task the wing leaders come up with to judge this year. Violet Squad has 10 of them, with Dane and Sienna, which is the leadership of their group,
Mhm.
and that puts them at a slight disadvantage, but Dane thinks that they will manage. Two of the new additions were lost last week when the smaller one's signet power manifested in Battle Brief, and they were both froze to death within seconds.
Wow.
Got to keep your distance from these manifesting signet riders here.
Yeah, geez.
Riddick was even close by and had to be treated for frostbite.
Poor Riddick.
Poor Riddick.
Dane wants Violet to manifest her signet. He's like, "Can you just do that already?" Like, it's just so easy.
Yeah.
And they are just still being weird with each other. Dane can't decide if he should treat her like a struggling first year or the girl that he knew.
Oh, well, you haven't treated her like the girl you knew once yet, so
So, why would you do it now?
yeah.
Zayden tells Dane, though, that Violet will not be going to Professor Carr's class today, but Dane wants her to keep practicing her wielding.
Xaden invokes the goddess of war by saying, "For Dune's sake," and pulls out a pocket watch, holds it out, and tells Violet to pick it up. It takes her some time. It was a heavy watch, but she eventually does it.
Yeah, Zayden's like, satisfied she practiced.
The riders are given fur-lined flight leathers for winter, which
Yes.
is good with all this freaking sub-zero degree weather out there.
And Zayden wants Violet to change into hers now.
Yes, so these third years, they have flight field in this type of weather, as I mentioned earlier, and the professors are just trying to take it easy on them for squad battles. At least Zayden thinks so, anyways.
Yeah, Zayden tells Violet she will need to practice because she will be on the front lines come next year. And Zayden says that they will both have to sacrifice in order to keep Taryn and Sigale happy.
That's being mentioned more in this section for sure, and some of the anticipation of what the hell is going to happen with them next year. They're going to have to figure it out between the two of them. It's just being mentioned more, and I just feel like it's going to be an issue at this point.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
We bump into Commandant Panchak and Colonel Atos, who says Violet has good flight lines on her face. He knows that Dane is her squad leader, and Mira has been asking about Violet. Zayden
Yay.
stiffens when Violet's mommy steps out of the stairwell. Her first words to Violet is that she heard that Violet is having trouble wielding.
Of course.
General Sorrengail, always a piece of work. She tells Violet that.
Leadership is very interested in Andarna and the powers that she has, but Taryn warns Violet not to say anything. So she tells
Mhm.
him that Andarna told her that Feathertails are unable to channel power to their riders, and it's why they don't bond often. Dane's dad even asks her if she will ask Andarna to allow them to study her for purely academic purposes.
Oh, I'm sure
Of
that's what it
course.
is.
Yeah. Violet tells them, though, that she would definitely not be comfortable with that. And Darna is still even private with her.
Mhm.
Colonel Atos says, though, that they've had the scribes on Feathertails since threshing, and all they can find about the power of Feathertails is hundreds of years old. But Colonel Atos thinks that it's funny since he remembers Violet's father researching the second Croveland uprising, and he mentioned something about Feathertails. But they can't locate
Oh.
the tomb. Hmm.
Hmm.
Violet lies and says he never finished his research on that, and she has no idea where his notes are, even though she knows exactly where they are.
Yeah.
In the one location he spent most of his after hour times.
I'm surprised though that nobody has come across these,
Nobody.
which is
Well,
crazy.
I think what she's saying there is they're in the
Yeah.
archive somewhere.
Yeah.
So they have to be hidden or they just never looked hard enough.
Yeah.
Like, where are they?
And what exactly did he find if they're hidden?
Yeah.
And does Violet know? Like, I feel like she doesn't know what he fully found
I go
because,
back and forth on this because if she didn't know but knew where the tomb was, why wouldn't she run to the tomb knowing that she's such a researcher and a reader? So I feel like she has to know.
yeah, but she doesn't know anything about Feathertails. Like, she
Yeah.
didn't know what to expect within Darna.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's weird that she knows that it exists and knows where it is and hasn't looked at it.
I know.
I'm like,
Or maybe she knows that, like, he didn't finish his work, so maybe she just thinks it doesn't matter what's in
yeah.
there. Maybe I don't know. Who knows? I guess we'll have to find out when we find out.
Yeah. Or
Because
maybe she could just be thinking in this moment, I'm going to get the most information out of Andarna,
right.
an
Yeah.
actual feather tail.
Maybe, yeah, but I wanna know what they did find on Feathertails. They just
I
said that the
know.
research was hundreds of years old, but what did it say?
I hope we find out.
I know. So General Sorengale says it is nice to see Cadet Sorengale, even if the company she is forced to keep is questionable. Zayden says, though, that he thought that they resolved those questions years ago, but all her mom says back is to Violet about manifesting a signet power. Zayden is surprised that Violet didn't tell her mother about how she got out of her room the night of the attack. Violet said that she never sees her, and he told her not to tell anyone. So this is the first time Zayden is realizing the relationship between Violet and her mother wasn't all sunshine and roses.
Yeah.
And when Violet asks what Zayden meant about resolving the questions years ago, Zayden tells her that he was just reminding her mother of the price he paid for his loyalty, but he won't tell her what that price was, and he reminds Violet of boundaries.
Ooh, soft subject there. I wonder what that's all about.
Yeah, that is something I would for sure be pushing.
Yeah, which she does later in this section, but
Yes.
we'll wait till we get to that.
Yes.
The whole fam is flying today and everyone is learning. Violet needs to learn how to stay in her seat. Zayda needs to learn why it's so damn freaking hard for her. And Darna is learning how to keep up, and Taryn is learning how to share his space in tighter formations since we're all flying together here.
Mhm.
And Sigale, she's been leading for 3 years now, and she needs to practice following. So
Yeah, because
everybody's learning today.
Taryn trumps a gal.
Yes.
But that's her own mate too, and she's like having a hard time giving him the front spot.
Yeah. Power hungry dragons for sure.
Yeah. Violet is like, dragon relationships are incomprehensible. And Zayden is like, you should try a human one. It's just as vicious, just without the fire.
Well, now we know why he has so many reservations about being in a relationship with her.
Who hurt you?
Literally, who, Zayden? Probably his mom, but who else?
Mm.
All right, moving on to chapter 25. The epigraph is the squad battle is more important than the wing leaders will let on. They like to joke that it's a game, that it's just bragging rights for the squad leaders and the winning squad, but it's not. They're all watching. The commandant, the professors, the commanding officers, they're watching to see who will rise to the top. They're salivating to see who will fall. Page 77 of the Book of Brennan.
That's sick.
That is sick. But the squad battles, they have commenced.
Mhm.
Violet squad is currently in 7th place, but if Liam wins his challenge, they will jump up to 3rd. Unfortunately, though, Violet and Taryn had the slowest time in her flight maneuver, but only because she made Taryn loosen his grip on her, and they lost precious time while he dove over and over again to catch her.
This is not the time, Violet, to be
I know.
practicing staying in your seat. He could have
Literally.
magically kept you in and done the maneuvers just as good, and your squad could be in a higher position. Like, I just think that's so stupid. Sometimes
I
she just
know.
makes me wanna, like, shake her, you know?
I feel like too, on the flip side of that, I do agree, but I feel like she's probably thinking if Taryn holds me in his seat, these people are going to tease me about that and say like, "Oh, they only won because Taryn kept her in her seat," or something stupid like that. And she's
Ugh,
probably like, "I don't want none of that bullshit. I want to win fair and square."
well, I don't know.
But you're right, not the place.
Yeah. Liam, though, of course, wins his match, and the whole
Mhm.
squad is celebrating. Even Imogen shows some happiness, which is just shocking.
Yeah.
But Violet is wondering where Dane is. Violet knows he would never have missed something like this.
Yeah.
Where are they?
Where are our leadership at this moment in time?
Hmm.
Normally, the last task is announced and the riders have the night to prepare for it, but that is not the case this year. The
Mm-mm.
last task will start tonight and without leadership. Their mission is simple: find and acquire by any means necessary the one thing that would be the most advantageous to their enemies regarding the war effort. The boundaries are anything they can find within the walls of Biscayeth. They have 3 hours and then they have to present their item in the battle brief room. Leadership will serve as unbiased judges, and the winning squad will be awarded 60 points, which is enough to put Vi's squad in first place.
Woo, here we go.
Woo! Squad battle time.
Imogen takes charge and leads their squad into a private space so they can discuss their plan. Imogen wants to know who wants to take charge, and after they shoot down Riddick, and Liam says he can't because he has to watch out for Violet, they recommend that Imogen stay in charge. The third years didn't want to command either. They all turn to look at Nadine as if she's okay with Imogen leading them, and she says it's fine because we know that Nadine has problems.
Yeah, she's annoying.
Yeah.
Nadine is from the northern village on the border of the provinces Deaconshire and Tyrender, and she is not subtle about her hatred of the marked ones, which Violet understands based on where she lives.
But she will play along to win the squad battle, which is good.
Exactly.
That's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
After bouncing a few ideas back and forth, they decide that information would be the best item to snatch.
Violet is formulating her very dangerous, mad, undoable plan and
Mhm.
reminds us all of the signet powers of her squad, and we learn some new ones at this moment too. Riddick wields ice, Rhiannon can retrieve, Sawyer can manipulate metal, and Imogen can mind wipe recent memories. And she's fast, which she adds.
Yes.
Keaton can breathe underwater. Emery can control the wind, a lot of wind,
Mhm.
and Quinn can astral project where she can keep her body in one place and then walk around somewhere else. They are planning to break into her mother's office.
The plan is now in action and our squad really wants to win.
Keaton stays with Quinn's body locked in the weight room while the rest of the squad and Quinn's astral body head to General Sorrengail's office.
We learned that Emery has never gone this far into the war college because he never wants to do archive duty because the scribes creep him out. He calls them quiet little know it alls who can make or break someone just by writing something down, which he is very true. That is
He's
correct.
not wrong.
Yeah.
We learn that infantry is on break, camping, practicing making and breaking down camp in the snow. And the scribes, they get to go home for the summer. And healers, they get to spend their weekends at the mind body health retreats. That sounds
I
nice.
changed my mind. I don't want to be a scribe anymore. I want to be a healer.
Right?
Yeah.
The riders, though, of course, they don't get to go home until after graduation and only for a couple of days before they're sent to service.
Yeah. It's definitely the toughest, but we already knew
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
The squad reaches a fork in the path to lead up to the spiral staircase they will need to take to her mother's office, and there's no going back now. They stick to the plan and no one deviates from it. Violet thinks they sure could have used Zayden right about now with his shadows, but Indarna pops into her mind and is basically like, "You're doing great, sweetie." Violet thinks Indarna is the most fearless kid she has ever met, and she grew up with Mira. Liam
Aw.
then tells them there is one guard and the light is not on in her mother's office.
The guard, he's about 6 feet tall and seems pretty athletic, so Quinn's job is to get his attention and then book it. The rest of the team moves, and Sawyer shuts the door behind him and twists the metal joints shut. We learn Nadine's power here is to unweave wards, which is coming in very handy trying to break into her mother's office, which is heavily protected by wards.
Yes, Violet warns the group not to touch the mage lights her mother will know, and Liam is going to stand guard outside, and Violet says they will have to make their own lights.
Violet flicks her wrist and a bright blue flame appears. Violet can see 3 missives on her mother's desk. She lifts one and reveals a sharp dagger with an alloy-infused hilt and what looks to be a Tyrish rune in the handle.
Interesting.
Kind of like the one that Zayden gave her. She
Hmm.
assumes she's using it as a letter opener, but interesting.
Wait,
Same dagger that Zayden gave to Violet.
that's weird.
Cannot be a coincidence.
There are no such thing as
No.
coincidences.
Violet opens a letter, and it's from Major Callista Nima, Executive Officer of the Southern Wing. He is writing to General Sorengale asking for reinforcements at the Athbine post as the raids have spread the wing too thin. The post is beyond the
Hmm.
safety of the wards, and if they don't get reinforcements, they may be forced to abandon it. He says in the letter, I cannot adequately relay how dire the situation is here.
Whoa.
They're in trouble.
This is a lot to process.
Yeah.
And what does it even fully mean?
And obviously, they haven't learned about any of this in Battle Brief. So, this is probably considered some classified information here.
Oh,
But
for sure. It doesn't even look like has her mother even opened this letter? Like,
I hope so,
or
because
is
if
Violet
not,
just opening it up with that dagger?
I know, literally. Violet opens the second missive, and it's a letter from Lieutenant Colonel Alyssa Travon, informing General Sorengale of the unrest in Tyrandor due to the conscription laws.
Hmm.
Since Tyrandor is large in size and provides the majority of the conscripts that replenish the front lines, they cannot afford to lose the support of the people. She suggests an influx of money spent on the posts there to show the people of Tyrandor how needed they are to defend the kingdom.
Yeah.
Violet knows the unrest isn't new in Tyrandor, nor is the sentiment against conscription. But they haven't learned of any political rumblings in Battle Brief about this stuff.
Mm-mm.
Violet thinks it would make no sense to increase defensive spending there since it holds the fewest amount of outposts due to the natural barrier provided by the Cliffs of Draelor, which are unscalable by griffins. Tyrandor is already one of the safest provinces on the continent, except for Arisha, where the capital should be, but it was burnt down after the rebels got caught.
Well, yeah, and I think there's always going to be political unrest there, even if they're hearing about it or not, just based on what has
The
happened in the
rebellion,
past.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Violet looks up at the map on the wall and it shows all of the battlement markers along the countryside. There are more outposts in the active zones and more troops in these locations. The map shows all of Navarre, Krovla to the south, Bravik and Signussen to the east, and even the barrier of the Barrens, the ruined deserted lands to the southeastern tip of the continent. And it shows all the outposts and supply routes in Navarre.
Wow. So Violet
Lots
knows
of information.
lots of information. So Violet knows that this is the map that they need to steal. It doesn't
Mhm.
take them long to get it out of the frame and rolled up. Liam then gives the signal that someone is coming. The guard is pounding at the hall door and they need to go now. Then the guard starts fully chasing them.
Anxiety.
Anxiety.
Rhiannon comes in handy here using her summoning powers to summon the map from the rest of the squad so the guard doesn't catch them with it.
Yeah. Emery then blows wind at the guard, making the guard fly into the wall.
Violet gives the guard something that will keep him asleep for the rest of the night. Of course, our poison's master over there.
Yeah. Liam looks at Violet with wide eyes and says that she's kind of terrifying. And she's like, thank you.
She's like, thanks for the compliment. I
Yeah.
know.
Our squad, they skid back into the battle brief room just under the clock. They are the last squad to arrive. And of course, Dane is annoyed as
Of
always.
course. Dane, you'll be happy in 20 minutes. Relax. Now we're finding out here what all the squads have brought.
Hmm.
A squad in first ring stole Kaori's handwritten manual on the personal habits and flaws of all active dragons, which is not a bad item there.
Yeah.
A squad in second wing stole a uniform of one of the infantry professors, fully intact with the name tag that would grant an enemy access to their outposts given the rank on the shoulder.
That's also a good one.
Yeah, they did good, these squads.
Hmm.
A squad in third wing literally stole a scribe from bed and someone's signet power took away his speech. That fucking scribe is going to be traumatized for the rest of their
I'm
life.
traumatized for that.
And last but not least, Violet Squad in Fourth Wing presents the map that we've already gone over, but
Yeah. Zayden is just watching Violet. Professor Markham and Devar look so shook as they hold up this map that they took. And Violet explains their map and how it is an up to date map with their outposts, troop strength of infantry battlements, as well as all the location in the last 30 days of all current skirmishes. Professor Kaori is the only one that hasn't caught on to what they are actually holding and wants to know how they know this is up to date. And Violet calmly just says that they stole it from General Sorrengail's office. Chaos obviously ensues because anything Violet does, then chaos always ensues
always.
afterwards.
Yeah.
And the riders and the professors are rushing towards the stage, which I think is so weird. Like that they're all they maybe they just want to get a look at it. I don't know.
Yeah,
They're just
maybe.
running. Zayden just tips his imaginary hat to her, bowing his head for a brief moment before locking eyes with her again. And Violet smiles at him, and she doesn't care what the vote comes down to. She feels like she already won. Yeah.
Oh, she loves him.
Yeah. His approval is all she needs.
Yeah, exactly. Chapter 26, the epigraph is: There is no stronger bond than that between two mated dragons. It goes beyond the depth of human love or adoration to a primal, undeniable requirement for proximity. One
Mm.
cannot survive without the other. And this is from Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind.
Mhm.
Violet Squad flies 6 hours straight to their outpost for a week-long tour as their prize for winning the squad battles. They are
Mhm.
in Montserrat. It's only April there, but the weather feels like June. So we're back to hot weather here.
Hot climate. Yeah, the squad feels exhausted and in pain because of that long ride, but Dane and Professor Devar are fine because they're used to flying for long periods of time. Dane and Professor Devar are greeting the outpost commander. The commander says that they can change for the climate before they get shown around the outpost.
Rhiannon's home village, we learn, is less than an hour away on foot from where they are now.
Yeah, so Rhiannon is in her feels because she is so close to home, and Violet says they have 6 days to figure something out.
Ooh, they're going to break the rules.
Of course they
Of
are.
course.
Dane comes to get them, and Violet knows that 9 months ago she would have been so excited to be away with him. Now she basically avoids him. So much can change in so little of time.
Yes. Well, Dane the Stain, you're an asshole now, so it makes sense to
Mhm.
me.
Makes sense to me.
The fortress is basically four massive walls filled with barracks and chambers with turrets on each corner and a large arched entrance. On one end of the courtyard is a stable with a blacksmith and an armory, and on the other is a dining hall. It's built for a siege. In event of an attack, they can feed and house everyone within for an adequate amount of time. There are 12 riders stationed there. 3 are on patrol, 3 wait, standing by in case they are needed, and the other 6 are in various stages of rest. So they're constantly rotating their schedule here.
As some riders who are on patrol are coming back to the outpost, Dane goes up to Violet and asks why it looks like someone sucked the fun out of her. Violet says she was just remembering the boy she used to climb trees with. Violet says Dane startled like she had slapped him.
Ugh, get over yourself, Dane.
Yeah.
While they are there, they will not see active battles as they chose this post specifically because it's one of the safest on the border to send them. So they're just going to see basically how they work.
One of those riders coming back into the post is Mira.
Yay!
Violet is very excited when she hears Mira's voice. They both break into a run and collide into each other. Everything that has happened in the past 9 months comes crashing down on her while she's hugging her sister. Mira wants to make sure that Violet's all right. Violet is thriving, but she's not the same person Mira left
Nope.
at the parapet, and Mira can see that too just by looking at her sister.
That's right.
They celebrate, though, that Mira is not an only child, and Imogen says that Sorengales are weird, and Dane replies, "You have no idea."
I could just imagine what the rest of the people around them are seeing when they're like, "Yay, you're not an only child. You're
I
alive."
know, and especially it coming out of Imogen, like, she has
Yeah.
no tolerance for shit like that.
Yeah.
Mira, 2 days later, catches Violet and Rhiannon attempting to sneak out of the outpost to go and visit Rhiannon's family. Mira said that Violet was acting super weird at dinner, so she knew something was up. They finally tell Mira their game plan about flying 5 minutes to Rhiannon's family home. They break down Mira's defenses and convince her to go with them.
Yay.
Mira then threatens them, though, if they tell anyone, they will regret it for the rest of their lives.
I still love that she goes with them though.
Yeah, Dane is such a rule follower, right? And here we can see you can bend the rules if you need to for the
Yeah,
person that you love.
exactly. Literally every single person in her life has bent the rules for her thus far.
Yeah.
Besides maybe her mom, but
Yeah. Rhiannon's sister had a baby
yay!
boy. So Rhiannon has a nephew.
Cute.
While Rhiannon is holding her nephew, Violet tells Mira that she breaks rules all the time and has gotten really good at poisoning her opponents. And Mira thinks Violet's pretty much a badass.
Hell yeah.
Mira gives Violet some good advice about signets in general.
Yeah.
That if Violet wants her signet to manifest, then she should stop blocking it, thinking it has anything to do with their mother. Her signet will be Violet's and Violet's alone.
Yeah, I feel like she also was comparing it to Brennan's and Mira's, not just her mom. So I feel like she really is kind of blocking it herself here,
Mm-hmm.
at least a little bit.
For sure.
Violet asks Mira how she got her scar, and Mira tells her it was a griffin near the village of Cranston about 7 months ago. It came out of nowhere during a village raid. The wards were down, but Mira's powers are no match for their birds. It took the healers hours to stitch her up. Cranston, though, is unfamiliar to Violet.
Hmm.
Unfamiliar to us readers as well.
Yes.
It's impossible to relay all the attacks at the rate the posts are being attacked these days, but the writers find out what they need to know. Mira gives an example. She could have sworn she saw a riot of dragons across the border during the attack, but questions about secret operations are above her pay grade, so she just lets it slide. But I cannot let that go.
Yeah, Violet wouldn't let that go, but
Yeah.
Mira is definitely the perfect soldier.
Yeah. What is a riot of dragons doing, though?
Across
Outside.
the border
Yeah.
without them knowing what's going on over there.
Yeah.
Shouldn't they go investigate? But they're just like, oh, that's weird, above my pay grade. Have a nice day.
So crazy. I'm sure that's gonna come into play later, though. There's
Oh,
gotta
I'm
be some
sure.
kind of foreshadowing there.
It definitely seems like some
Foreshadowing.
foreshadowing. Mira, though, wants to know what the heck is going on between Dane and Violet. The tension between them is bad. Violet says that she needed to change in order to survive, and then she tells Mira how she got his friend, who was a wing leader, killed. And just Zayden in general has put a strain on her
Yeah.
relationship with Dane. Violet doesn't think she can fix their friendship not to where they used to be.
Yeah, there's no going back now.
No.
Mira tells Violet that the execution of the wing leader was common knowledge and that it wasn't her fault. Amber broke the codex and she got herself killed. So even Mira knew about the whole wing leader drama.
Yeah, that has to be big news that spreads throughout the company.
Yeah, and I love that she's even saying here to her it's not her fault, which probably feels really good to Violet.
Yeah, to have her sister say that to her.
Yeah.
But Violet confirms that Xaden is the one who saved her, but Xaden is a complicated subject.
Yes.
Mira's like, well, just be careful, even though I'm pretty sure I told you before you crossed the parapet, he was the one person you were supposed to stay away from.
Yep.
Taryn didn't listen to Mira's warning, but if it wasn't for Xaden or the vest that Mira gave her,
Oh, yes. Violet tells Mira how many times she has saved her life without being there because of this armor that she made. And she
mhm.
even suggests telling their mom about it. And Mira does tell Violet that she did tell leadership and they are looking into it. So,
Well, that's good.
yeah.
Mira and Violet note that Rhiannon's family is so happy and they've never had a family like this, but Mira did remember Violet snuggled up with their father with their favorite book.
Yes, and Mira held on to the book of folklore given to Violet by her father for
Mhm.
her. She didn't want their mom to go on a cleaning spree and toss the book. So she had it back at the post, and Violet can now take it back with her to Veskaya.
Aw,
She's so excited.
so excited.
Mira says she never understood why the villains would choose to corrupt their souls and become venom, but now they have the kind of power people would kill for. Dragons and griffins are the gatekeepers, and she is sure that to someone who is jealous and ambitious enough, risking a soul would be a fair price for their ability to wield.
Hmm. Okay.
Interesting
Interesting.
there.
As they're walking back into the base, Violet asks Mira if she's ever been stationed with a mated pair before. Mira says one, but she wants to know why. But Violet was just wondering how long they could be separated. And then Zayden is right behind them.
Yep, so we learn here that mated dragons can only stay apart for 3 days max because Zayden shows up.
Yep, he has arrived.
And I love that we're getting this folklore book reference again.
Hmm.
More drama about them being separated. So,
We
what is
love
going to
to see
happen?
it. I feel like we're building up to something.
Oh, yeah. Well, the next section is our last one for the book. So the ending's going to be cray cray.
Holy crap. I can't even believe that the next episode we do is the last set of
Right?
chapters in
It's
this book.
crazy.
Weird.
Chapter 27, moving right along here today. The epigraph is for valor above and
Mhm.
beyond the call of duty and the Battle of Strathmore, where her bravery resulted not only in the destruction of a battery behind enemy lines, but also saved the lives of an entire company of infantry. I recommend Mira Sorengale receive the Star of Navarre. But if the criterion is not met, which I assure you it has been, downgrading to the Order of the Talon would be a shame, but sufficient. Recommendations for award from Major Potsdam to General Sorengale.
Why would her own mother not give her the higher valor award?
I don't know. She's probably like, oh, she could have done it a little
Ugh.
faster, Mira. Like
Oh
something
my god, I
bitchy.
can't stand
Yeah.
her.
The squad at the beginning of this chapter has been split up into two groups. Rhiannon, Sawyer,
Mhm.
Sienna, Nadine, and Heaton spend the morning with Devera studying previous battles at the outpost and are now on patrol. Dane, Riddick, Liam, Emery, Quinn, Violet, and their plus one Zayden spent the morning on a 2 hour flight around the surrounding area.
And everyone is watching this said plus one. Dane is side eyeing and making snide remarks. Mira is keeping one eye on him and has been really quiet. And Violet is also staring at him. They have this extreme energy that just washes over her whenever they make eye contact.
Yeah, she's just like drooling in the corner.
She's like, oh, thank God he's here. My eye candy has arrived.
Yeah, and Mira's like, "Arr," like a little chihuahua.
Yeah, and so is Dane.
Yeah. This morning's flight patrol was only a quarter of what they would regularly fly. So, for the sake of killing time, Mira wants to play Battle Brief. She
Mhm.
says, let's pretend we've come across a newly fortified enemy outpost crossing our border near one of the peaks about 2 miles from the Signesen border. What would our objective be? But the squad, they are very literal.
So literal.
Dane and Riddick ask clarification questions, but Quinn points out protocol about civilians not calling for help. Protocol calls for a distress signal this far in the mountains, but Mira shuts them down and reminds them that they are only taught theory at Beskayeth. Things out in the field don't always go according to plan. So, new game.
New
Mira
game.
decides it will be more helpful to talk about ways things can go sideways so they'll know what to do.
Mhm.
Dane is under the impression that no one sees the field until graduation, but Zayden and Emery both confirm that they have been called out to duty, and Dane, he looks like he has saw a ghost. Our little rule follower is having trouble with this one.
Yeah, I think it was like Zayden Leg looking at him like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah."
Yeah. So here are the new game rules. Pretend that they are the only squad available to take back a keep. So Mira has this rock keep in the middle of them.
Mhm.
She hands out all these little dragons for
Mhm.
them. And she says to them, think of the power in this room and what each individual rider contributes. How would you use your powers in unison to conquer your objective?
Mhm.
The third years now at Beskayeth will be the first riders to serve with the Rebellion Relic kids. And we're reminded here that these are the children of the leaders responsible for the Tyrish uprising, which was an uprising that potentially could have left the borders of Navarre defenseless and innocent civilians as war casualties.
Mhm.
Though those that are in active service have never actually flown with any of the marked ones. The Tyrish riders who remained loyal to Navarre were promoted, and the riders who turned against Navarre were killed.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see how The active duty riders deal with Zayden and Garrick and all the third years that are going to be graduating in a couple months.
Yeah, I mean, we can already kind of see as they're at this post in Montserrat how they're being treated
Yeah.
and how they're already treated by leadership back at Biscayet. So I don't know if it's going to be a quick and easy adjustment there.
Well, do you want them to help defend the borders or what?
Exactly.
Violet clears her throat and looks at Mira like, don't fuck with my friends, because even Mira is uneasy around the marked kids.
Yeah.
And Mira keeps the game moving forward and says they've never taught first years what they are doing because they are busy trying to stay alive, but it's now time for almost their last challenge.
Our first years already have conquered the parapet, the gauntlet, threshing, and squad battles, but it is not over yet. War games are beginning in 2 weeks' time.
Dane wants to be in charge during Mira's scenario, and Liam points out, though, that their wing leader is already here. Zayden says, though, that they can pretend he's not here and give Dane the position he craves, and Violet tells Zayden not to be a dick.
It is confirmed that Zayden speaks to Violet again in their minds, and Violet is shocked. How? And he says to her, the same way you talk to Sigale, we are all gloriously, annoyingly linked. But she still hasn't figured out a way to answer him back.
He winks at her
I
during
know.
this.
I can't.
Dane has an outburst that they weren't expecting senior leadership to be here. Then he is flabbergasted that Taryn and Sigale couldn't make it 3 days without being near each other. But Violet stands up for Zayden, and Dane says, of course, you would rush to defend him.
Of course.
Also, Violet almost gives their secret communication away by their mind to mind talk. Well,
Mm,
she can't talk to him, but he's talking to her.
yeah.
Dane says he can't believe she would defend him when he wanted to kill her 6 months ago. Zayden mocks Dane's professionalism and his leadership qualities. So it's just like back and forth nonsense coming from Violet, Dane, and Zayden
In
at
front
this
of
point.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unbelievable. So the rest of the exercise plays out. Like I said earlier, Mira gives them all these little model dragons and puts a stone keep in the middle of the table. Violet suggests first sending Mira to scout the area with her dragon, Tyne, since she has the power to extend wards, and they need to know if they are dealing with infantry or griffins. And
Mhm.
Mira says, let's assume that they are griffins. Dane suggests that Quinn then astral project into the fortress to check for signs of weakness and report back. Same with Liam, since his signet is Farsight, so he would be ordered to locate where the griffins are and if there are any traps. Mira says, let's assume the Wooden Gate and the Navarian citizens that they have captive in the dungeons are the weaknesses. So Dane suggests that Emery uses air wielding abilities to shape the dragon flame through the occupied parts of the keep without killing the civilians, which is so fucking cool.
Yes.
But she has to be in the keep to do so. Emery is skeptical of leaving her dragon, but Mira says, what the hell do you think we do hand-to-hand combat for? You ain't gonna stay in your
Literally.
dragon forever, honey.
Yeah.
So Mira says, assuming the others are busy fighting off griffins, the real question is, how do we get Emery close enough without them being killed?
Mhm.
Quinn asks Dane what his signet is, but he responds that it is above her pay grade.
Ugh, annoying. But Violet makes a
Annoying.
good point here about Dane reaching for her head with the whole Amber Mevis thing in front of everyone. So, worth bringing it up, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Violet gets fancy and uses her lesser magic to hover Zayden's dragon closer to the keep. And
There's just more Dane and Zayden and Violet banter, and it's just annoying.
yeah, it's annoying literally everybody.
Yeah.
I think someone says, like, do you guys want to have a dick measuring competition
Yeah, do you want to
or
just
something?
whip it out right here?
Yeah. And Zayden demonstrates just how awesome his powers are because Dane doesn't believe that he can actually use his shadows to the extent that he can. And he's basically like, bro, I could black out this whole entire outpost if I wanted.
Yeah, for
But he
sure.
doesn't want to freak anybody out.
Yeah, I would have just done it.
Yeah. Violet complains to Taryn about Zayden being in her mind and asks how the hell she's supposed to talk back to him. But Taryn tells her that she needs to figure out which pathway is his, which, that seems easy enough.
So
You could figure
easy.
that
Yeah,
out.
just find the pathway.
Yeah.
Find it. After the exercise was over, Mira wants to talk to Dane, Violet, and Zayden. She's like, you three, over here now.
Oh, yeah. She throws up a line of blue energy that covers the entrance. And thanks to Dane, we learn that this is a sound shield. She is about to bitch them out.
Yes, Mira, she's gonna start in on Dane first. She wants
Mhm.
to know what kind of stick is up Dane's ass because it seems like he has forgotten he is the squad leader with a real chance of being a wing leader next year, and he is blowing it all over Zayden and Violet having to spend time together because their dragons are bonded.
Yeah.
Dragons don't listen to humans, and Dane and Violet need to figure their shit out. They've been friends since they were 5. If Mira knew Dane would have no flexibility, she would have never told Violet to find Dane after the parapet,
Ooh, burn.
which is such a good burn.
Oh.
Then Mira turns her attention to Zayd and she's like, and now you. She wants to know if this is what Violet can expect moving forward, and Zayden said it wasn't up to him. Violet says they can't boss the dragons around, and Mira says that Violet can't live like this. Mira is afraid that Violet will end up in Zayden's shadows, that destroying Violet from reaching her full potential is another way to destroy somebody's life, which is true.
Yeah.
Mira starts to tell Violet why Zayden and the other children hate their mother, but Zayden interrupts her and says that he's here. She's like, yeah, I know, I can see you. And he's like, no, I'm here. That Taryn didn't drag Violet back. He didn't flood her head with his emotions and demand they fly across the kingdom. He left his post. Zayden left his
Mhm.
post. Violet isn't missing anything, and they will figure out what will happen next year. But Zayden's the one. He's like, I left someone else in charge of my wing to be here.
Yeah.
Violet isn't
Yeah.
missing out on anything.
It's true though. I mean, she really hasn't missed out on one thing yet.
No. Then Mira finds out about Violet not being able to keep her seat without Taryn. Violet explodes at Mira, saying she's not her. Though Zayden does step in here and says that Violet is getting better, but Mira is not happy about the 3-day rule. But they can't finish the conversation because chaos
Taryn
is always ensuing.
exactly. Whenever Violet's involved, chaos will ensue.
hmm
Taryn sends a message to Violet that there's a drift of griffins headed their way. Mira must have gotten the same alarm from Tyne because she says, fuck, the wars are down, and tells Violet she has to go. Tyne thinks they have about 20 minutes before the griffins arrive.
Violet wants to stay and help. She feels like Taryn would be beneficial in this fight, but everyone is finally in agreement that they need to get Violet to safety. They cannot risk the untrained first years either.
Yeah, it's not just Violet here that they have to protect. There's a whole bunch of first years that have never seen any battle, and some second years probably that haven't seen battle. So,
Yeah, Dean's like, I will probably be fine. Zayden will be fine. Maybe you'll be fine, but do you want to risk Rhiannon and Sawyer and Riddick?
yeah, exactly. And I think that pushes Violet over.
Yeah.
Dane races up Kath's leg, and Violet gets flashbacks from the gauntlet. I guess the training is useful after all, but oh fuck, how is Violet gonna get on Taryn at this angle?
Yes, Taryn, though, was doing what he could, and now he's on his way to pick Violet up. Zayden kisses Violet and asks her to leave for him because Violet still doesn't want to leave. She does not want to leave her sister here. And
Yeah.
Violet tells him that she will hate him for this, and Zayden says that he can live with that.
Aww. He does it to protect her, though.
I know.
And he doesn't want to get his ass kicked
Yeah,
by
he
Mira.
says, please leave for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aww.
I know.
After that steamy, steamy kiss, though,
Yes.
Zayden lifts Violet's arms in a T formation and tells her to hold tight. Taryn scoops her up with his foreclaw, like he's done so many times when she's fallen. He climbs in altitude and then throws her on his back, and then a dozen griffins envelope the keep.
Oh my gosh. Even Taryn says that he will not risk Violet's life.
Nope.
No.
Chapter 28, the epigraph is winning the war games isn't about strength, it's about cunning. To know how to strike, you have to understand where your enemies, your friends, are most vulnerable. No one stays friends forever, Mira. Eventually, those closest to us become our enemies in some way, even if it's through well intentioned love or apathy, or if we live long enough to become their villains. Page 80 of the Book of
Mm,
Renan.
that's interesting.
That scares me.
What does that mean? Even those closest to us, if we live long enough, will become their villains?
I don't know. That's weird. So the squad has been back from Montserrat for 2 days now. one flight day and one extremely long day of silence waiting for the news about Mira and the whole post in general.
Yes, so Violet is up first thing, waiting outside of Professor Markham's office, and Xaden finds her and brings Violet a cup of coffee, and she's waiting for news on her sister. Sigale told him that Violet hasn't been sleeping, and Violet gets mad at Taryn for telling Sigale about her sleeping habits, and Taryn says that he's not answering that question, and then she tells Taryn that Indarna is her favorite.
I love how snappy she's being this morning.
Yeah, she's a little grump.
Yeah, a
No
little
sleep.
grumpy. Yeah.
Zayden turned 23 in March, and Violet's birthday is in July. And Zayden knows everything about her because he was trying to destroy her life at some point, or so he says. So he says. Zayden flinches when Violet asks if he's still planning to do that. Violet has completely taken over his life, and how can she not see that? Things have changed between them.
Yeah, Violet, how can you not see that from now? Like, come on.
Literally, literally.
Violet tries to communicate with Xaden through the mind bond. She puts one mental foot in the archives and quickly feels the power throughout her veins. She sees bright orange energy from the door in front of her, a golden light shining through the window she made for Indarna, and then she sees a shadow of sparkling light and she knows it's Xaden.
Dane shows up and is fretting over Violet not eating breakfast when Professor Markham shows up. Violet just wants to know if Mira is dead. Violet literally has to beg the professor not to find out in battle brief in a room full of other
Which is
writers.
wild, but also
Yes.
so on point for this
Yes.
guy. There was considerable damage to the outpost in Montserrat, but they did not lose any riders.
So Mira is alive.
Thank God.
Violet almost falls to the ground with relief, but Dane catches her and hugs her. And when she steps out of Dane's arms, Xaden is gone.
Oh, he probably did not like the sight of that.
No. Violet skips breakfast and goes to the flight field where she falls to the ground and cries about Mira being alive, and she didn't leave her there to die. And Darna arrives and comforts her. She knew the only person that would let her be this way was Indarna, and I just love how Indarna shows up for her in this moment.
I know, so cute.
I know. So now we're back to just the regularly scheduled program of training and flight lessons and things like
Yep.
that. And Violet has decided she is going to become very curious about Xaden and his life. So she starts asking him random questions. So the first one she asks him is if he has any siblings. And nope, Xaden is an only child. She then asks Xaden what his favorite food is, and he tells her it's chocolate cake and to stop being weird.
Yeah, I think she's definitely in her head when Mira's telling her, like, you don't know anything about him. And she's like, you know what? You're right. I don't. So
Yeah,
now
yeah,
she wants to know all the little things.
exactly.
Poor Violet, though, is being forced by Taryn to complete advanced flight maneuvers that even third years couldn't stay seated for either.
Oh, jeez, he's working that girl.
He is working her hard.
And when resting after flying, she asks Zayden how he knows Liam just to see if he says the same thing. And he does. Zayden says that they were fostered together. And why is she asking so many questions? But Violet just says she barely knows him. And Zayden's like, you know me well enough. But when Violet asks about the scars on his back, he takes off with Sigale.
Ooh.
Taryn says Violet is pushing that Xaden cares for her, and that is already hard enough for him. Violet says Xaden cares about keeping her alive. There's a difference. And Taryn says, not for him, there isn't.
Oh, so everyone can literally see it except for you, Violet.
Open your eyes.
Open your eyes. We've
Hmm.
now jumped to May, and it's time for the first battle of the War Games, which also tells us that graduation is right around the corner.
Yes, in Battle Brief, more and more things keep getting redacted, and Professor Carr is getting nervous that Violet hasn't manifest a signet yet. Violet also notes that Dane is acting weird as fuck, friendly and then indifferent. So I don't know how this is any different from how he's been the past year, but
Yeah,
Violet is noticing that he's being extra weird.
yeah.
Also, Xaden is getting even more secretive, if that's even possible. Taryn even thinks there is something he is not telling her.
Interessante. Anything goes out there during the War Games, and here we are, ready to stop them.
Yeah, Jack Barlow is still out to get our girl.
Jack Barlow. Almost as annoying as Dane.
I know.
Violet asks, why do you think riders wear black anyways? She's just talking to her squad at this point. And of
Mhm.
course, Riddick has the smartass comment and says, because it's badass. But Imogen's answer is a little more cringe. She
Yeah.
says, because it's harder to see when they bleed.
Oh, thanks, Imogen.
Harsh.
So Violet is like, let me get that off my mind. And she starts mind flirting with Zayden to figure out if they're going to be on offense or defense in the first war game.
And Violet Scott will be on both offense and defense for their first battles of war games. First Wing has taken a defensive position in a practice fort in the mountains to guard a crystal egg. From past years, the older riders know that eggs equals more points. Flags are the lowest, and captured professors are somewhere in the middle. But they do like to switch it up. Just like in the fields, when they are tasked to find one object, but they find out later that it's not as valuable as they thought. Fourth Wing, specifically Dane's squad, has been given a flag to carry and defend, but no outpost to protect.
Mm-hmm.
Dane actually learns something from Mira's exercise and decides that they
Whoa.
will all carry the flag. Yeah. They will play to their individual strengths and pass the flag often, making sure that First Wing can't see who is carrying it.
Rhiannon is convinced that they're going to win this war game. When they approach Taryn, he is standing very proud on the flight field.
Except there's a saddle on Taryn, and Violet is like, WTF.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? Black metal bands link and loop around each of Taryn's forelegs and come together at his chest, forming a triangular plate before rising over his shoulders to a saddle with secure stirrups. Violet
Mhm.
says, I can't use that. It's not allowed. But Taryn says, I decide what's allowed and what's not. He continues to say there is no rule against it, and she has worked just as hard, if not harder, than every other rider. Just because her body is built differently doesn't mean she doesn't deserve to keep her seat. It takes more than a few straps of leather and a pommel to define a rider. Oh, I love this little dad moment that he has with her.
I know. I love the dad moments.
Yeah. We also learn a little later in this chapter that the saddle itself was black leather, complete with 2 raised pommels for her hands, and it fits like a dream.
So Zayden had the saddle made for her, and he almost got burned alive putting it on Taryn, even though Taryn helped design the saddle.
Yep.
Zayden also says that Taryn would not let Zayden do a test ride, and Taryn says, "You can ride me when the flesh rots off my bones, wing leader." He's so sassy.
He's so sassy. He like loves Aiden, but hates him at the same time.
I know. He's like indifferent at
Yeah,
best. Yeah.
yeah.
Now Taryn can channel all of his powers without having to keep Violet magically strapped in her seat. Zayden tells Violet that when she's feisty and has this stubborn look on her face, it makes him want to kiss her. Oh. Violet wants to know why he would say this now when there are other people around, and Zayden says he has never given her the impression that he cares about what other people think. Finally, she
Aw.
thanks Zayden for the saddle. Dane, of course, likes the saddle because it's safety for Violet, and
Mhm.
Zayden jokes that about kissing her now in front of Dane. And Violet, though, says that the next time they kiss, it shouldn't be to piss Dane off.
True.
Yeah, Violet tells Zayden to get lost and lead his wing or whatever he's gonna do. And Zayden, I just feel like he's acting like a little kid in this moment. Is like, I'm gonna go steal an egg.
Yeah.
And Darna is coming along for the war game, so that's exciting.
Yay! Her practice of flying along, keeping up has paid off.
Mm-hmm.
She's participating in the war games.
Mm-hmm.
The flag is going to be a little bit harder for Fourth Wing's second squad to hide since it's a giant yellow flag on a 4-foot pole. This will be interesting.
Yeah.
It ain't no little pocket flag here.
And it's yellow.
Yeah. The mission is to keep the flag out of enemy hands, so they skirt the perimeter of the 100-mile battlefield while the other squads handle locating the enemy and retrieval.
Mm.
Violet suddenly feels power rattled through her bones like it wants to mold her. It feels different, and Violet worries that her power from not manifesting a signet has chosen today during war games to release. As Taryn is rising in the air, Violet sees a gray tower in the mountains with dragons around it. Violet, Rhiannon, and Liam split up, and the 3 other dragons launch after them. They will face them one-on-one. Violet faces a dragon with an ice pellet wielding rider, and their dragon spits fire as Taryn blocks it with his underside. No damage is done to her or Taryn. Violet feels the heat and energy of power taking over her body again, and Taryn yells at her to ground. Now!
He's yelling at her.
He's pissed. She puts both her mental feet on the floor of the archives, only leaving access to Taryn's power, and Darna and Zayden. She immediately feels more control. They
Hmm.
lose the Ice Wielder and Dragon, and they're heading in the opposite direction, so Violet realizes this is where they're going to guard the egg.
Yes.
Fire blasts them, and Taryn does a little belly block to protect Violet, and Darna is fireproof too, thank God.
Thank God.
Taryn swings his tail and hits the dragon responsible for the blast, knocking him out of the air. Violet finds the keep with the egg again, and there's now only one dragon guarding it.
Of course, it's
Of
this
course.
dragon.
Of course, it's Bade.
Yep.
And she snaps her tail at Day, who is Liam's dragon, and
Hmm.
almost catches his throat. But Taryn tells Violet that his scales are thicker than she thinks, and it's Liam who's actually in trouble here.
Hmm.
Violet reaches for the golden power, and her back arches as it barrels down her spine, engulfing her entire body and then blasts outward. So she sees Liam in trouble here, and she knows, even though she doesn't want to, she has to tap into Indarna's power here to save him.
Yeah, he's falling to his death, and I believe Jack has stabbed him with his sword.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he stabbed the dragon and it hit Liam as well.
Yeah.
Once the power blasts outward, they are the only ones who are moving, and they're heading towards Liam's body that's only a few feet above the rocks. Taryn grabs Liam's body, smashes the rocks with his tail, and then time snaps back, and Indarna is safe. Thank God. She did not die.
Yes, thank goodness.
Yeah. Taryn is climbing faster than ever before now, and power is racing through Violet's entire body.
And Liam, does she pass Liam off to Rhiannon, I think? Okay.
Yeah, because she goes to fight Jack.
Yeah, you're not gonna fuck with her friends.
Yeah, no. So Liam is safely with Rhiannon now, and Violet's power just keeps growing within her. Her
Hmm.
mental feet are still grounded in the archives, but the power and energy is just bursting through the roofs as power crackles all around her. She is the sky and the power of every storm that has ever been. She is infinite, and she screams,
Mm.
and lightning splits the sky with a horrifying rip of thunder.
Yes, so it hits the mountain side that Jack was on, and Jack falls down in an avalanche of rocks. There was no way that anyone would have survived that fall, and even Bade screams. The dragon knows too that her
Yeah.
rider is dead. Violet looks at her hands as Taryn proudly says, "Lightning wielder."
Yes, perfect time to manifest for Violet. She's saving her friend,
Mhm.
very on brand for her.
And she got rid of her biggest enemy at the
And she,
moment.
yep, and she kills Jack. Finally! It's
Yes.
done. I feel like we should be
Done.
singing like ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch old witch, the wicked witch. Motherfucker, he's finally dead.
Yeah, that motherfucker.
Chapter 29, the epigraph is: the death of a cadet is an inevitable yet acceptable tragedy. This process thins the herd, leaving only the strongest riders, and as long as the cause of death does not break the codex, any rider involved in extinguishing another's life shall not be punished. This
Hmm.
is from Major Offender's Guide to the Rider's Quadrant, the unauthorized edition.
Yeah, so Violet will not be punished for Jack's death.
No. The ground is shaking as the dragons and riders fly onto the field with Fourth Wing celebrating and First Wing really pissed off.
Hmm.
Garrick lifts the crystal egg and Dane waves the flag and the crowd goes wild. Fourth Wing has won the war games.
Woo! But Violet is panicking. She is not celebrating. Jack is
No.
dead and she has killed him. Violet stumbles getting off Taryn and she hits the mud. And Darna is exhausted, but she's okay. And Taryn tells Violet that Liam is okay too. The sword went through his side.
Thank goodness.
Sawyer is pumped that Violet is a lightning wielder, lightning that she used to kill. Everything hits Violet all at once, and Taryn blocks her with his wing while she throws up. Taryn is telling her that she did what was necessary, and Darna reminds her that Violet saved her friend. And Darna says she is very proud that Violet is hers. So Violet is
Aw.
panicking, but her support team is there to pick her up to remind her that she did what she had to do. She
Yeah,
was saving her friend, and
exactly.
Jack would have killed them, so she had to do what had to be done.
Yeah, and she didn't even maliciously kill him. Like, it just happened
Yeah.
based on her
Strike.
emotions and her
Yeah.
strike. Yeah, it wasn't like she actually tried to kill him, but
Yeah.
she still, I think that makes it even worse for her because she's like, I
Mhm.
would have never killed him.
Right. Yeah.
But
She never goes for the kill.
Dane tells us here that there hasn't been a lightning wielder in over a century.
Yes. Violet throws up again, and Dane tries to comfort her. He even kisses the top of her head, and he tells Violet if she doesn't want to use that kind of power again, she doesn't have to.
I hate
Zayden
him.
tells him to get the fuck away with nonsense like that.
Yeah.
Zayden literally pulls Violet out of Dane's arms. Zayden wants to know if lightning was her signet. Violet notes that he is looking at her like she is the key to whatever he needs. So I feel like we should mark this moment
Yeah.
because
What the fuck
what
does
does
that
that mean?
mean?
Zayden said he thought she was a lightning wielder, but he wasn't sure until he saw her take down the tower. Zayden tells Violet that the world is a better place without Jack Barlow in it, that
Mhm.
he wishes he could have done it himself, but others will be better off without him. He's glad Violet killed him and that Jack is dead. Violet continues to spiral. Zayden is rubbing circles on her cheek as she spills Dane's signet. She's like, this person has this great signet, this person has this signet. And Dane's like, what the heck? And
Yeah.
Zayden's like, you think I don't know what your signet is?
Literally. He's like, "Yeah, it's not that classified, buddy."
Yeah. Violet's like, everyone she knows is a tool for good in the world, and she is a weapon. Dean tries to coddle her, but Zayden loses it on him, saying no one in command is going to let Violet sit on this power. She has two dragons, and now she's a lightning wielder. No one is going to let her chill at home.
No.
Dane accuses Zayden of wanting Violet to be a cold blooded killer just like Zayden. But Zayden tells Dane if he wants his job next year, he'll need to realize that you never get used to killing, but it is necessary sometimes.
Yeah.
Zayden keeps trying to tell Violet that her power will save lives, but she feels like she will finally live up to her nickname, Violence.
Oh.
I
Yeah,
know.
this is hitting her hard. Poor girl.
Yeah.
Zayden says Violet is not just a weapon, she is the weapon. And if
Mhm.
she can train and own this ability, she will have the power to defend an entire kingdom, which
Yeah.
will be for the good eventually. He's just trying to make her see that.
Yeah.
Taryn, he's able to get the saddle off himself, and it was something that he requested as part of the design, which
So
is good.
Violet doesn't need to worry about that on top of the panic she's already having. And
Exactly.
Zayden thanks Violet for saving Liam because Liam means a lot to Zayden.
Aww.
Hmm.
Taryn agrees with Zayden and tells Violet that with a signet like that, she is the best hope a kingdom has against the hordes of evil that seek to harm it.
She
Which
really
I
will
think
be.
it's very interesting here that he says these words against the hordes of evil that seek to harm it. He doesn't
Hmm.
say against griffins or
Yeah.
against enemies. He says
The
hordes of
evils.
evil.
Yeah.
Like that just stuck in my head. I'm like, evil. Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, he has been making her practice these harder flight maneuvers. So, what, and now with this power that she has, what is Violet going to be asked to do?
Yeah. Something crazy, I'm sure.
Yeah. Rihanna thinks Violet and Zayden's relationship is weird, and she's not sure if it's the opposites attract or the slow burn sexual tension, but she's like, you guys gotta figure shit out.
Yeah. Rhiannon notices too how she flew so fast to get Liam, and she asks her, what the hell was that? She has
Mm-hmm.
never seen any dragon fly that fast, almost like she blinked and missed it.
Mm.
Taryn tells Violet, though, that it's not her secret to tell, and it belongs to the dragon kind, and no one has the right to risk the hatchlings, not even her.
Which is interesting that he said not even her.
Yeah.
Why would she, above anyone else, be able to spill secrets? Because she already knows
Mm.
it? Or I don't know. Like, I just thought that
Yeah.
was interesting.
Yeah. Rhiannon mentions Zinal, the god of luck, for loving Liam, who cheated death twice now today.
Mm,
Violet, though, thinks of the god of death, Malik, and if he is pissed at her for stealing a stole from his grasp. She gave him Jack, though.
yeah, she replaced one for the other,
You can have
so
fun with that one down there
yeah,
in hell.
yeah. Leave Liam alone.
Yeah.
Xaden later that night comes to check on Violet in her room, and Violet wants to talk about her signet power while she's throwing daggers. Xaden thinks her dagger throwing skills are hot.
Ooh, I think they're hot too.
Yeah.
Violet's power is lethal, and no one is going to mess with her anymore when she can kill them from 50 feet away,
Hmm.
literally. But there is still so much to learn about this signet. Violet's even thinking, does it work inside? How does one wield lightning without the sky? Like, what? She's going to have to learn all this.
Yeah, Xaden doesn't know how to train a lightning wielder either, but she won't need him to save her. She can save herself. Xaden admits that he can stay away from Violet, and he is not out celebrating because they didn't win a war, they won a battle, and Xaden also figured Violet might still be upset.
Aw.
Violet isn't mad that Jack is dead. She is mad how this now changes her. She was warned that this place will change you, but when she was younger, her dad told her she was different from the rest of her family.
Yeah. Violet also, she can't blame Taryn for the signet power. They are based on the writer and just fueled by the dragon, which means this has been waiting underneath the surface for some time now, just waiting to be released. She
Mhm.
was hoping for a signet power like Brennan, mending to help fix things and put them back together, but instead, she just has a destructive power.
But Xaden tells Violet she has never been like any other rider. She never wanted to be here. Violet could say the same for him, and Xaden says this was the only way of survival, and Violet wanted a quiet life with books to record battles, not be in them. So she is allowed to be angry. She can be
Mhm.
whatever she wants within these walls, but she can't show that on the outside.
Yeah, and this, I'm just being reminded now of that epigraph from Brennan
Mhm.
where he's like, this is exactly why she needs to be in the scribe quadrant Mira because she will not deal with killing someone well. Like even
Yeah.
poor Brennan knew, and Violet was only 15 when he died. So
Yeah, because she's just such a good soul.
yeah,
She's always
pure.
finding the good in someone. Even Jack, who has tried to kill her numerous times, she's so affected by killing him.
Yeah.
Xaden, though, he's like, all right, let's lift up your spirits. Fight me. Let's get some of that energy out and show him what she's made of and show him what she's got. So she kisses him instead. She's like, I'll show you what I got.
She's like, let me take over here.
Yeah, let me just
I'll
give
show you
you a
exactly
big
what I need.
smooch.
Yeah. Chapter 30, the epigraph is, though not forbidden, cadets are strongly encouraged not to develop strong romantic attachments while studying in the quadrant for the efficiency of the unit. Article 5, Section 7, the Dragon Riders Codex.
Well, they're about to break
Ooh.
that rule.
We're already there, I feel.
Yeah,
Like,
they're already we've
we've
already
got a
broken
couple
this.
smooches in by now. We're getting hot and bothered every time they see each other. So,
They're definitely attached.
yeah.
Xaden tells Violet she doesn't actually want this, but Violet's like, "This is exactly what I want."
Yeah.
And she could go find someone else if if she needs to. And he's like, "Absolutely not. Fuck that."
Yeah. And they get it on.
Yeah, so they start hooking up and it's
Mhm.
spicy.
It is spicy. And as Violet is climaxing, not once, but twice, lightning is flashing out of her window again and again. And this is just from his fingers, people.
Yeah, he's
He
not
ain't
even
even in
inside
her.
her yet.
Yeah.
But of course, after some more back and forth about should they or shouldn't they, mostly with Violet having to reassure him that she does want him, they have sex.
Yes. We are
Woo!
here, chapter 30.
Yes, please go and read it because I will get too red to describe the things that they were doing.
Yeah, it was hot and steamy. Rebecca Yaros, chef's kiss with that
Chef's
scene.
kiss.
I think it's interesting too that they both take a fertility suppressant so that there are no quadra babies running around here.
Yeah, equal rights. They both should take it.
Yeah. The armored door splinters off the hinges, and Zayden's shadows come out to protect Violet. The power is building up in Violet, and she needs a release. And Zayden tells her, go for it. He's
Yeah.
got her now. The shadows are blocking,
Yeah.
and lightning flashes in the room. But Violet smells smoke. She accidentally lit the curtains on fire.
Like, literally so dangerous when they're having sex. There's
So
just
dangerous.
shadows and lightning everywhere.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she lit a couple trees on fire too. So
Yeah. Mess.
when Zayden finishes, wink, wink, the shadows burst out of him and split the wooden target on the other side of the window. So they're both being destructive right now.
Oh, yeah. Zayden says that what they just did was frighteningly perfect, and he's never lost control before.
Ooh. Violet sees the silver scars on Zayden's back again and asks what happened. There are so many. And he tells her that there are 107 to be exact, and she knows this number from Liam. That's how many kids carry rebellion relics. Zayden finally tells Violet that he made a deal for the 107 of them to come to the Riders Quadrant. He
Mhm.
took personal responsibility of every kid in return for their chance to survive. So if anyone betrays Navarre, his life is forfeited.
Wow.
That's heavy.
That is so heavy. And to put it all on himself?
I know.
Yikes. But Violet asks Zayden to stay with her, and they agree only within these walls will they be like this. Zayden just wouldn't trust his temper if anyone said anything about Violet. Zayden tells Violet not to fall for him.
Too late, buddy. Like, come on.
Oh, so Violet changes the subject.
Yeah, she asked Zayden, why did he guess she could wield lightning? And he said that he thinks she did it already. For the first time that night that Taryn started to channel her.
Mm.
Specifically, the first time that she kissed him.
Ooh. Then the next morning, Zayden left violets on her nightstand, and she knows that she is in so much trouble.
Oh, yeah. Professor Carr knocks on her door and tells her that they have work to do.
Yep.
She is off archive duty until they can be sure she won't burn down the building. He says the scribes won't want her anywhere near the books until she can control her power. So he's thinking that she's just sleeping, setting shit on fire and blasting lightning. She has no idea that it was from multiple orgasms, but she keeps this fact to herself.
I would too.
Yeah, me too. They are in the flight field, and Taryn is there, saddled up and ready to go. And Darna is sleeping, but she is fine, thank God. Carr mounts his orange dagger tail, and they are airborne, heading to a mountain range where Violet can't start a forest fire. But Violet also notes that there are no witnesses, and Carr could snap her neck up here. So she asks Taryn not to leave her. And of course, he won't, though. He
Mm-mm.
tells her that he will incinerate him if he takes one step towards her.
Yes,
She don't have to
literally.
be scared with him
But it's
on her
interesting that
side.
Professor Carr has an orange dragon
Yeah, that is interesting. Same as Jack
and Amber Mavis.
and Amber Mavis. That's right.
Hmm.
Hmm. So Professor Carr, he makes a comment about her body here and the weakness of her body, I think. And he tells her that it's not an insult, it's a balance. During his time as a professor, he has found a correlation that keeps a system of checks on power. Violet seems to be her body. So he's basically insinuating that because she has these physical weaknesses, she was given this extraordinary power, which kind of balances out.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Taryn admits, though, he is not the most powerful dragon on the continent. So who's more powerful than him that we know of? Just Coda?
Yeah,
He's the only one.
I would think, yeah.
Okay. Of course, Violet has these reservations about Professor Carr because she saw him snap Jeremiah's neck when
Mhm.
he was panicking. But Professor Carr tells her that it's common knowledge that Intensics aren't allowed to live, but Violet has never understood this rule. Carr tells her that she should know how valuable information is being the general's daughter. They have unlimited access to classified info, and they're a security risk to the entire kingdom. And Violet just thinks about Dane in this moment and how he's allowed to live.
Mhm.
But Taryn reminds her that he is controllable with the need to touch someone to read their minds. And as long as he is in their control, he will be allowed to live.
Mhm.
So, Carr is just confirming here that he has no plans to kill her, though he believes that losing an asset like her would be a tragedy to the war effort. So,
Yes.
he's just here to help her get stronger.
Yeah, Professor Carr also says that Xaden and Violet together will be lethal with their powers and their bonded dragons. Violet says that she will protect Navarre just like every Soaring Gale before her.
hmm Professor Carr wants Violet to wield her power until she can contain and control it, but she doesn't know how she did it. It was an emotional reaction, so Professor Carr tells her to start there, ground her power, and feel whatever it was that she was feeling in those moments.
Taryn is so sassy. He's all, should I go and get the wing leader?
That would probably help,
No,
Taryn.
it would help.
Zayden talks to Violet through the bond, and there's nowhere in existence that she could go that he wouldn't find her, which I thought was so
No.
precious.
Ah!
Zayden's helping her out though and making her horny by sending her images of herself, but seeing it through Zayden's eyes. And the power starts to flood her system and lightning flashes across the sky. So it worked. I
Yeah.
mean,
And I think Taryn like chuckles or like
yeah.
whatever. He's like,
Yeah. He's
told
like, of
you.
course.
Of course.
She's going to be having orgasms the only time she can lightning strike from now on.
Right?
So Professor Carr's like, great job. Now do it
But
again.
again.
And this time she focuses on the power rush instead of the orgasms that got her there, which is a
Yes.
good step in the right
Yeah.
direction.
Progress.
Yeah. The white hot energy builds and then cracks the sky a mile away. Bad ass. But
Hmm.
Professor Carr tells her to try to aim this time and just remember not to exhaust the power. No one wants her to burn out. A power like Terrence will eat her alive if she's not careful.
Yeah.
So she strikes about 5 more times before she's exhausted, but she is nowhere close to hitting where she's aiming. So,
No. This is going to be a lot harder than Violet thought it was going to be.
yes, indeed, indeed. Chapter 31. Here's the epigraph. July 1st, the anniversary of the Battle of Arisha, is hereby proclaimed Reunification Day and will be celebrated throughout Navarre on this day every year to honor the lives lost during the war to save our kingdom from separatists and those saved by the Treaty of Arisha. This is from the Royal Proclamation of King Tori the Wise.
Well, later that day, after practicing her wielding, Violet is back in her room taking care of the damage that her and Xaden did the night before. And Xaden comes a knocking. He didn't even realize how much damage they had caused last night.
Yeah, so he tries to clean it up nice and quick in the morning before he leaves the room, but it's dark. He's rushing. He didn't want
Mm,
to wake Violet, so he's just now figuring out actually how much damage was done.
yeah.
And this is where we find out that Violet also lit a couple trees on fire last night, and it took 2 water wielders to put the fires out.
Yes. Xaden tells her that he had to leave early that morning because he had a leadership meeting, and she updates Xaden that she can, in fact, wield, but she cannot aim.
Kind of important.
Xaden says that he was tough with Violet on the flight field because he knows that she doesn't like people to see her when she's vulnerable. So
Mhm.
that's why he was a little bit tougher on her out there. Even though I think he was giving her the a right amount of motivation and a pep talk.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to keep their super romantic part a secret for now, but we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah. Violet reminds Xaden about his humanity too, and it's not up to debate to her. Violet asks Xaden about the night in the courtyard, and he doesn't really seem willing to share. And Violet says that he can tell her anything and she would never tell. And he tells her he was at Athbine, but she can't ask anything else.
Yeah, so I think in this moment she's probably like, okay, whatever he's doing was classified and I just can't know.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, that's a little fishy
Mm,
because this is the second time now that Athbine has been
mentioned.
mentioned because she read the missive on her mom's desk that was talking about Athbine.
Hmm.
So, but we find another little hidden note here within the book that her father gave her saying that she is probably a scribe now, but to remember that folklore is passed down from generation to generation to teach us about the past so that they don't lose the link to the past, and that it only takes one desperate generation to change history. even erase it. Interesting that he says that about a fables book, too.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
he knows she will make the right choice when the time comes and that she is the best of both him and her mother.
Yeah, Xaden says that the note is cryptic, and Violet confirms that her dad got very cryptic after Brennan died, and she only got to spend time with him because she was studying to be a scribe.
Super interesting.
I also think it's interesting that this book wasn't found in the archives, that Jasenia had never heard of it before, and most people, even just us learning about when Violet talks about folklore, that not everybody is in the know of the folklore of
Yeah, and
these
he's saying
stories.
that you have to pass this information down from generation to generation.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel like they're trying to wipe this information out about Venin. And if
Mhm.
it's folklore, then why are they trying to wipe out this information? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, especially since the book says folklore, I think.
Yeah. He says folklore in his letter to her, too. So
Yeah.
Violet's flipping through the pages again of the fables, and we're reminded here that they're stories including an ancient kingdom and a great war between three brothers who fought to control magic.
Mhm.
Some of the stories tell of the first riders who learned to bond dragons and how the bond can turn on the rider if they try to consume too much, which kind of is true
Yeah.
with the whole signet power manifesting and combusting.
Mhm. They can burn out.
Exactly, yeah. Others are of a great evil that spread across the land as man became corrupted by dark magic and turned into Venin, who also created Wyvern and scourged the land for magic and thirst for power.
Mhm.
And lastly, other stories have the dangers of drawing magic from the earth and how it can drive you mad.
Mhm.
So Xaden says his father used to say that the venin are all in the barrens and that they would come out if they didn't eat their vegetables. And he said there would be no more magic in the kingdom one day if they weren't careful.
So Zayden's dad was also informing him about folklore, but then there's also that like weird warning. You need to be careful about
Yeah.
magic or there won't be any left.
Yeah. So lots of cryptic messages here. And I'm just trying to piece it together. And I'm just,
Can we
something's
get a
not right.
straightforward answer here?
Yeah.
Zayden, he's in the mood for some smooching, and he has a better idea of how they can spend their night instead of cleaning up her room. But Zayden has not changed his mind about Violet falling for him.
Hmm.
Violet says that she doesn't know if she can separate sex from and emotions when it comes to Zayden, and she thinks that if they hook up again, that she is going to eventually fall for him. Zayden says she doesn't know him, but she counters that if he stopped acting like a chicken shit and admitted that he would fall for her too, then all of their problems, or most of them, could be solved if they work together.
Yeah.
There is some more back and forth, but Violet says she can't do this until she is ready to risk her heart and he has no control over her choices. So when she's ready to risk her heart, then he has no say in what she decides.
Yeah.
And Zayden says it's good that they don't continue this since he's graduating soon. And she basically shoves him out of her room, saying if he isn't willing to admit what they actually mean to each other, then he can just get out.
Yeah. King Tori is here at Beskaya celebrating reunification day.
Hmm.
And Violet is first training with Professor Carr. She's doing this every day for an hour. But after a month, she still can't aim her lightning strikes for shit.
No.
But she has moved up in the amount of strikes that she can do. When she first started a couple chapters ago, it was only about 5 before she was exhausted. And now she can strike about 20 times an hour, which is definitely an improvement.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
We have some Violet and Zayden banter. They still haven't hooked up again, but the sexual tension is at an all-time high. Violet tells Zayden what she would do to him if he would just man up. And so basically they're sitting all around there with their friends at breakfast or whatever.
Yeah.
And Violet is looking up at Zayden and they start this mind-to-mind sexting basically. And he's like, stop looking at me like you want to fuck me, basically. I can't concentrate. And she goes on to tell him something very dirty that she would do to him if he would just admit his feelings. And he literally chokes. Chokes. And Liam rolls his eyes because he's the only one that knows around them that they can do this mind sexting.
Poor Liam.
I know. Poor Liam. We are 10 days away from graduation. Today marks 6 years since Brennan died. Violet thinks that Brennan would have been a captain or even a major by now based on how his career was advancing, and maybe he could have even have been married.
Aw,
Yep. Zayden
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Brennan. Zayden is still holding out strongly that there is no future for him and Violet, and Zayden says that he will leave her here without resolving whatever they are. And Violet asks if he won't commit because of Imogen. He's annoyed by
Yeah,
that.
yeah, he is very annoyed by that. We learn in Battle Brief that third years are taught to build wards, and Professor De Vera tells them to prepare for the final exercise of war games and that they were all required to come to the fireworks tonight for reunification day. Uniforms only in front of the king.
Liam, when they're walking out of class, asks Violet about Zayden, and she tells Liam that there is nothing to tell, that they are not together.
Which isn't actually a lie.
Yeah.
So, one good thing that comes with graduation is that they'll finally be able to talk to their loved ones again. They are all wearing sashes with their name embroidered on the front and the first year star on their back. They get to see other quadrants tonight, too, not just the riders in the pool of college kids. So, they are all
Yeah.
horny little bastards thinking of who their next victims can be.
They're going to a party. They're going to a party.
They'll be second years in a little less than 2 weeks. And there was only one death this week that was a third year that didn't come back from a mission. So
Mhm.
at the party, the healers are in pale blue, the scribes are in cream, and navy blue for the infantry. And of course, the riders are all in black.
Of course.
There are more than 1,000 people there.
Wow.
Wild.
That's crazy.
Mage lights form dozens of chandeliers and drapes of velvet make Beskayeth look like a ballroom right now. There's even a string quartet in the corner.
How fancy for a war college.
Yeah, they are really bringing out all of their tools when the king comes to town.
Right?
Violet's mom, the general, is also in attendance tonight with her court.
Yes, and Liam wants to make sure that Violet is still wearing her armor, and Violet's like, "They're not gonna knife me in front of my mother." And Liam's like, "Well, I think today would be a good day for them to knife you to kill Fen Ryerson's son since you're linked." And
True.
everyone she notices is gawking at Liam because of his rebellion relic. And Violet apologizes to Liam for being there with her. None of the other rebellion relic kids are there.
Yeah, so Violet remembers in this moment that Reunification Day is also celebrating the apostasy, the death of all the Rebellion Relic kids' parents. But it's also the death of her brother, Brennan.
Mhm.
King Tory is walking with General Sorengale, and they both wore dozens of war medals, all of which General Sorengale has actually earned and
Mhm.
won, but the king did not. He never stepped foot on the battlefield, not once.
The
Fraud.
fraud. The king wants to talk to Violet about bonding two dragons, and she tells him that she's still learning how to wield. And her mom, General Sorengale, is like, "Don't be so modest. She has one of the most powerful gifts besides Brennan and Ryerson." Liam also tells the king his gift is Farsight, and he tells the king that Duke Lindell brought him up. And the group is also looking for Xaden, and Violet goes out of her way to tell them that Xaden is their wing leader and that he has saved her in a lot this year.
Mhm.
And her mother says that they've grown close because of their mated dragons, and the king is happy that a Sorengale will be on the lookout for them because
Mhm.
they do not trust Xaden at all.
No.
When they continue to look for Xaden, Violet's mother points out Dane Atos, which is so interesting that she does kind of redirect the king when he's being pretty adamant that he wants to see Xaden, that he had required for him to be here and he wants to have put his eyes on him. But
Yeah.
it is interesting that Violet's mom redirects him towards Dane and another topic. I thought that was interesting that the
Yeah.
mom steps in.
No, definitely.
Violet's just like so apologetic to Liam. "I'm so sorry you have to be here and do this. That I can't believe Xaden made you come." And Liam was like, "Xaden didn't make me come. He would never force me to be here for this. He came for Violet to make sure she was okay, especially after Violet
Aw.
saved his life."
Yeah. I feel like Liam now feels like he owes Violet everything. It's not just Xaden anymore now.
Yeah, they've like built a friendship of their own outside
Yeah.
of Xaden and his requirement to protect Violet. They've become genuine friends.
Yeah.
So
And it's a debt to her that he's always gonna owe for saving his life.
Yeah. After Dane is done talking with the king, he's all like proud and annoying and whatever.
Ugh.
He comes up to Violet and tells Violet that she looks beautiful tonight. But then he does know how much Violet hates parties like this and helps Violet escape with Liam. So he does do her a solid there.
Yeah. Alright, we'll give it to you, Dane, just this
Yeah.
once.
Just this once.
So Violet walks out of the party and mentally grounds, letting her power find Xaden.
Yeah, she tells Liam to get lost. She's like, I love you, but please leave.
Yeah.
And then she finds Garrick and Bodhi and they try to stop her, but she's like, I need to go out there. I need to see him because I'm his. She says that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, once she has a realization that Liam's going through it, like, all their parents died, I think her first thought is, like, Xaden. He needs
Hmm.
someone to be there for him today.
Yeah.
And that's when Violet steps out onto the parapet towards him.
Yeah,
We're
because
back where we started.
of course Zayden goes and sits on the fucking parapet when
Of
he's being
course.
moody.
Yeah, he's like, "No one will find me here. No one will be dumb enough to cross this again."
Yeah, and here comes Violet in her fucking
He's like,
skirt.
"Doo-doo-doo."
Yeah.
Yeah. Chapter 32, our last chapter for this section.
Hmm.
The epigraph is: As for the 107 innocents, the children of the executed officers, they now carry what shall be known as the rebellion relic, transferred by the dragon who carried out the king's justice. And to show the mercy of our great king, they will be all conscripted into the prestigious riders' quadrant at Biscayeth, so they may prove their loyalty to our kingdom with their service or with their death. This is the addendum 4.2 to the Treaty of Arisha.
Crazy.
Yeah. So Violet is walking the parapet in the dark and barefoot. This is madness.
She's wearing a skirt. Like she could barely
Yeah.
cross it with boots and tight clothing.
Yeah. Madness, the things you do for love.
Literally. Zayden, though, is just chilling, sitting about a third way out onto the parapet, looking up at the moon and contemplating his life. Violet is terrified to be on the parapet again, but she also knows that she's in love with Zayden. So she finally admits it.
Oh, at least to herself.
Yeah. Violet has stayed out of his bed because she was afraid of falling for him, but that ship has sailed a long time ago. So what is even the point of holding back?
Yeah.
Xaden wants Violet, though, to turn around, and Violet wants him to come with her. When he notices that Violet is on the parapet in a fucking skirt, he's like, turn around right now. But Violet wants him to come with her.
Yeah. Xaden reminds Violet that he wields shadows. He is safe out here, just as safe as he would be in the courtyard, but she can't wield lightning to break her fall.
No, she can't. She's like, oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. She's like,
Xaden is like, you really are going to be the death of me. Go back. But Violet says only if he does. She wants to be wherever he is. Violet calls him out on wanting her. He might not say it, but he shows it. When he
Mhm.
trusts her, when his eyes linger on her, the sparring lessons he doesn't have time for that he gives her, when he refuses to touch her, when he thinks that she doesn't really want him, and when he hunted down Violet before a leadership meeting so she didn't wake up alone. He has shown her in a million ways, and so he shouldn't deny it. And
Yeah.
he doesn't.
Yay!
They may be headed for heartbreak, but if they don't try, then they don't deserve whatever they have, if they don't
Yeah.
even try. And
Yeah.
Violet is ready to risk her heart.
Aw.
They discuss the Imogen topic, and she admits her jealousy, and Xaden admits even if she was looking at him, he only has eyes for Violet. Yes, and Imogen was looking at Garrick, not Xaden.
Yeah.
And finally, Xaden admits there's only you, Violence. Xaden is tired of fighting to keep them apart.
Oh, finally, we
Ugh.
are in love and
Yeah.
admitting it.
Well, he doesn't say he loves her,
Yeah,
but he
I know.
basically is saying that.
Yeah.
Xaden admits to Violet that he did get jealous seeing Dane kiss her after thrashing. And finally, they're both heading off the parapet, Xaden bossing her the whole way off.
Yep. Xaden's shadows are out as they walk to his room together, shielding them, of course.
Yeah, and she brings up Dane the first time she walked up the staircase. He's like, "Can you not talk about Dane when we're
Yeah.
walking back to my room?"
Yeah, he's like, "How about no?"
Yeah.
Zayden tells her that he's gonna have to ward her new room or teach her how to do it in the next 10 days since he won't be
Yes.
here next year to do it for her.
No.
Violet is in Zayden's bedroom for the first time, and his room and bed are huge.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah. Perks of being a third year or a wing leader, whatever it is,
He's
there's
got it.
perks.
Yeah.
He also has a bookshelf, which Violet is jealous about, and a sword rack with too many daggers to count. They both have the same target. How cute.
So cute. Yeah. Zayden's like, "Why don't you ask me about how many I've lost?"
Yeah.
So Violet starts undressing Zayden, ready to take care of him tonight. We learn the scar on his face was from Sigil during threshing, and Zayden tells Violet, though, that he needs her and he doesn't need anyone, so he doesn't know how to handle this feeling.
Yeah.
So she's ready to just lay there with him, comfort him, let him finally have someone to lean on when he's always taking care of other people. He literally
Yeah.
has the lives of 106 people on his shoulders,
Yeah.
basically. So
Yeah.
she wants to take that pressure off her tonight and be there for him. But he's like, "Listen, I'm going to fuck you. So if you don't take your clothes off right now, you're going to need to leave."
Yeah.
And so obviously she's not going to leave. She's like,
Yeah.
"All right."
She's like,
So
"Here we go. Shirt off, pants off."
yeah, ready to go. Yes, sir.
What position would you like me in?
Yeah. How would you like to begin?
Yeah.
Then they have very, very steamy sex in Zayden's
Oh, yeah.
bed. And during the sex, Violet tells Zayden she loves him.
Wild. Oh, why doesn't he say it back though?
I know, these men,
Fucking Zayden.
they have problems with their emotions.
Yeah. The orgasm, though, is explosive, and so is the window.
Hmm.
Violet struck it with lightning and blew it out. Zayden has his shields up and ready to block them for a couple more rounds, though.
Yes, which they do. But they're going to need to like figure out how to keep Violet from literally exploding
Yeah,
when she has an orgasm.
I know.
Or
She really gonna have to work
they're
on
just
that.
going to know every time.
Yeah. The whole quadrant's gonna be like, every time there's a thunderstorm.
And trees are on fire.
Yeah.
Garrick is then banging on Zayden's door after Zayden and Violet have had multiple rounds of mind blowing sex. And Zayden said there better be someone dead.
Uh-oh. Garrick says, I think there's a lot of people dead, which is why they're calling the full quadrant 2 formation. We're under attack.
Oh, shit.
Shit is about to get real.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, they're like throwing their clothes back on.
Yeah. She's like, yep, that is very dangerous. We gotta go. Let's go. Get out of here. Zip button, do whatever you gotta do. Her shirt's probably on backwards, but whatever.
Yeah, we're under attack. We gotta go.
Yeah, so the next time we'll be speaking to you guys, it'll be the end of this book. So you know it's gonna be a wild fucking ending after that.
Oh my gosh.
Just setting us up for an epic closing.
I'm ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
I'm ready.
No.
I'm fucking ready. But for now, that's all we have for you today. Please let us know what you think by leaving us a review and comments on any of the platforms you are listening/watching on or on our social media pages. This helps tremendously to get the word out and lead more listeners to find our show and tune in.
Yes, don't forget to email, follow, subscribe, and rate us 5 stars and tell all your friends about us. And we hope the rest of your day is blissful. Bye!
Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week where we start Part 5 of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yaros, covering chapters 33 through 39. Happy reading!